All right, fine, I'll admit it. I've missed 1 or 2 predictions over these last few weeks, and I also missed my stick mic. And that hurts my soul! And that's mainly because I don't like admitting that I'm wrong. So this week in previews and predictions, I'm gonna be hyper-focused. And by hyper-focused, I mean that I'm not gonna predict any games to end in 2-2. So let's get to the first one, which is gonna be Manchester United versus Manchester City, because so much is riding on this game. United sit in second in the table, which sounds pretty impressive, all things considered, until you realize that second is 8 points behind City at the top. But compared to City's top form, which they've shown on multiple occasions this season, they have looked a little bit shaky in recent weeks, with their team having to score a few late goals to get results. And they just lost to Shakhtar Donetsk midweek in the Champions League, which was a game that ultimately didn't matter for them because they already qualified for the knockout rounds, which is why Pep Guardiola rested 6 of his regulars. But don't all games matter? I mean, I feel like they should, right? Because every game tells you a little bit more about your team, and in this case, City's depth. So you take this slight vulnerability that City has shown recently, now you pit them against the club that, even though they're coming off a big, giant 3-1 win last weekend against Arsenal, and who have also not lost at Old Trafford in 40 straight games, well, I really feel like they're gonna be vulnerable too, because Paul Pogba, who is such a vital player to their team and the fluidity of their team, is suspended, which means I expect Ander Herrera to slide in his absence and see if he can put Kevin De Bruyne, who has been the best player in the league so far this season, hands down, unquestionably, in his back pocket. Right, Ander Herrera, because remember when he shut down Eden Hazard last season in a big game? I remember it. But I'm not sure if Ander Herrera can, because I get the sense that Kevin De Bruyne has a chip on his shoulder about Jose Mourinho, since Mourinho sent him packing back to Germany when they were both at Chelsea and never really gave him a chance. So I wish you the best of luck, Ander Herrera. You're gonna need it. But that doesn't mean I believe that United is going to lose. In fact, I don't think they will. I think the confidence that came from beating Arsenal and in coming from behind to beat CSKA Moscow midweek in the Champions League, which saw Romelu Lukaku, who I think is gonna be such an important player in this Manchester derby, well, he scored only his 2nd goal in the last 2 months, so he's gonna be feeling pretty good about himself. And with Jose Mourinho knowing, absolutely knowing that the title race is over if they don't get all 3 points here, you have to believe that he's masterminded something good to get past one of his biggest rivals in Pep Guardiola. So United fans might think I'm trying to jinx you here, but I assure you I am not. I think United wins this one 2-1. And now let's head to another massive game being played in Europe this weekend, Juventus versus Inter Milan. Because for the 2nd week in a row, Juve faced the leading team in Serie A, which seems kind of weird to say out loud because they are usually the leading team in Serie A. But after a shaky start to their title defense, which kind of feels like the norm with them over these last few years, they have slowly regained their form, which was on full display last weekend when they went to Naples and escaped with a huge 1-0 win over one of the best attacking teams on the continent to be back in the title race where they belong. And with the quietly steady Inter Milan, who have been truly superb this season under manager Luciano Spalletti, only having 2 wins away to Juventus since 2008, this could be another big result for Juve manager Mad Max Allegri and his club as they look to win their 7th consecutive league title, which is just... So come on, Inter. You know, I appreciate what Juve bring to the table and the incredible talent on their squad, especially the GOAT, Gigi Buffon. But it's just time for someone else to get a chance, and then you guys can win it again next season. I don't really care about next season. I'm worried about right now, and I want it to be somebody different, so why not Inter? So I'm going to say 1-1. Paulo Dybala is going to score, and Mauro Icardi is going to score, and that's going to be the score. Stamp it. And up next, we head to Spain for Real Madrid versus Sevilla. Now, since Madrid are 8 points behind their rivals Barcelona, which historically speaking is a gap of points that they have never overcome to win the league before, I believe this game is going to decide if Madrid are going to remain as somewhat serious La Liga title contenders or if they're just going to focus on winning their 3rd straight Champions League trophy instead. But actually, I'm not even sure if they're going to get a choice in the matter. With Sergio Ramos, Dani Carvajal, and Casemiro already suspended for this game, coupled with Rafael Varane's injury midweek, Sevilla should like their chances of potentially getting all 3 points, even though they haven't won at the Bernabeu since 2008. And then a fun fact for you, even when Madrid had all their defensive-minded starters healthy and not suspended, the last 4 meetings between these two sides has produced 17 goals. And then another fun fact for you, the last 0-0 game between these two was back in 1993, almost 25 years ago, so we know this is going to be a goal fest, especially with Madrid's depleted defense, which means Cristiano Ronaldo, who just won his 5th Ballon d'Or to tie Messi for the most all time, which is an incredible achievement, so congratulations to him, is going to have to be up for this one because he needs to put on his cape and be the superhero for Madrid once again. So I'm going to say 3-2 to Madrid, with Ronaldo scoring a late penalty to secure all 3 points. And next up, it's the first of 2 big finals in North America, the MLS Cup final between Toronto FC and the Seattle Sounders. So I don't want to get too into the weeds here because I'm going live tomorrow on this channel at 1 p.m. California time, 4 p.m. New York City time, and 9 p.m. London time, kind of like for a poor man's True Geordie live show around this MLS Cup final, so I can break everything down for you then with some of my friends that I'm inviting who may or may not be former MLS Cup winners. So come back and watch the game with us tomorrow. It's going to be fun, and I'll bring the snacks. However, for a brief overview for those of you that won't be joining us live tomorrow, it's unacceptable. These 2 clubs played each other in last year's MLS Cup final, which saw Seattle play a lot of defense, which included some great saves by their goalkeeper, Stephen Fry. And then they went on to win in penalties after a 0-0 draw in regulation, but I can't see that happening again. Toronto FC have known all year that they were the favorites this season to win it all, and that pressure has not fazed them. They were the best team in the league after 34 games, which helped them win the coveted Supporters' Shield, and they won the Canadian Cup competition. So now they are 90 minutes away from winning a historic treble, something that no MLS club has ever done. So despite Seattle probably playing better at the moment, the Sounders have yet to give up a goal in these playoffs. I just can't see Toronto losing this at home for the 2nd consecutive year. I predict that you're going to watch this game with me tomorrow on this channel at the times I mentioned before, and that Toronto FC is going to win 2-1. And now for the other big one, let's head to Mexico for leg 2 of the Liga MX final between hated rivals Monterrey and Tigres. Well, the first leg, which was played last night in pretty rainy conditions, was at Tigres' home stadium, and it ended 1-1, even though we could argue Tigres had the better of the chances, so they're probably feeling like they deserve more from this game, but that scoreline pretty much sums up how even these teams are, given the fact that they were the 2 best teams in the league this season. However, Monterrey have scored 23 goals and only given up 4 at home this season, and since leg 2 is in Monterrey, and given their form over the last few months, and given how they got a result in Tigres' stadium in leg 1, even though they weren't the best team, I just think that that's a sign that they're ready to be champions, so I think they win this one 2-1. And finally, here are some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. And this one too. Like the Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton, because a couple of weeks ago, I'm pretty sure that I would have said Liverpool wins this 5-0 because Everton were god-awful, and actually, Liverpool still might, since the Reds have scored 40 goals in their last 11 games in all competitions. But since Big Sam Allardyce set foot in Goodison Park to accept the role as manager, Everton have won 3 games in a row, scoring 9 goals over that span, and most importantly for them, conceding none, which only makes this derby juicier. I don't say juicier very often, it's pretty funny. So make some time for this one, for me, please. And then I'll be spying on Valencia and Celta Vigo because both of these teams have been absolutely amazing to watch and attack. They've scored 59 league goals between them, and they boast 4 of the league's hottest goal scorers who could be lining up when they meet on Saturday. Valencia's Zaza and Rodrigo have 9 and 8 goals respectively, while Celta Vigo's Iago Aspas has 8 goals and Maxi Gomez has 7. So if you need lessons on how to hit the back of the net, you should watch this one. And then I'll be watching Ajax versus PSV because PSV are 8 points clear at the top, which is so very Manchester City of them. And like City this weekend, they're playing on the road against the only team that could pose a serious threat to them and their title hopes. But Ajax, who actually have scored more goals than PSV this season and boast a better goal difference, are in 3rd. 10 points back because they keep getting draws against lesser opponents. So if they want to make the Eredivisie interesting for the rest of this season, they have to win this game. And finally, I'm going to make some time for Borussia Mönchengladbach and Schalke because 3rd place Schalke, who are unbeaten in 8 games, which is their best spell in 7 years, host 4th place Mönchengladbach, who beat Bayern Munich 2 weeks ago, which was pretty impressive, but then they got beat this past week by Wolfsburg 3-0, so whatever. But they're only separated by 1 point, these 2 teams, so the stakes are going to be high. Also, since both teams are the 2 highest scoring teams on set pieces this season in the Bundesliga, and the 2 teams that have been awarded the most penalties, I fully expect to see some goals in these 2 areas. and you can count on it by stamping it. Stamp. Anyway, that is it. That is all I got. So be on the lookout for me going live tomorrow, because it would be great to have you in the chat for as long as you can stay. Maybe it's a few minutes, maybe it's the whole game, whatever. And also, here's the info that you've all been waiting for. If you predict the right score for the Manchester Derby, you'll be entered to win a Warm Baller starter kit. That's right, a Warm Baller starter kit, hat, stickers, and a t-shirt. Throw it in a hat this time. I think. Do we have any extra hats? I don't know for sure, but I hope we do. So good luck. Later.